the workout today is going to be a pure threshold session, 5 times a mile. I'm going to begin 50% recovery because it's the beginning really of the preparation. So if it takes us 5 minutes, then we'll take 2.5 minutes rest. And if it takes us 450, then we'll take 225 rest. What are we targeting? I mean, from the lactate test indoors and just from experience, I would say for me anyhow, true threshold is somewhere around 4 millimole. What do we mean by true threshold? The point with which if you go above it, the lactate starts to build exponentially. And so if you spend 3-4 minutes above it, you'll be at 6, 7, 8 millimole, depending on how much above it you are. So we're looking to go right to the top of that. And we've already made a lot of videos about this, but now this is when the cycle repeats. The living in a very hot climate now is kind of, you're coming off of an extremely hot summer. It's not too bad now. It's maybe 68 degrees or something. And the cycle repeats. So this is when you start getting fit again, right? This is when your body is able to cool itself properly and the intensity matches, the actual speed matches the internal intensity. And that's the big thing that's been lacking, is somewhere along the way, Trevor and I, and you can go back and you can look, sometime in about, I don't remember when it was maybe March, we did a session, 2 times 5K. And I turned to Trevor and I said, G. Foley, what do you think would be, if you consider yourself to be a pretty good runner, like you can go toe to toe with anyone, what do you think is a good result for 3 by 5K? You can go toe to toe with anyone.
15 flat.
15 00.
Yeah.
For 3 in a row.
The race pace isn't that much slower.
So there you go. You heard it. Jason West is doing 3:11s for 21K off the bike. So yeah, you should be able to probably do fresh morning workout 3 00s, 15 00. And I think that's still true. I think Jason West, who's running the best, consistently the best right now, he can do that set. He posted sets that he did in the summer, going into some of those big runs he did, where he did 2 5Ks in under 15 minutes. So he could certainly do 3, in around 15 to 15:20. So we knew that, we know that, and somewhere along the way, we decided that, don't do what it takes to be the best. Don't worry about it. It was circumstance, right? It was circumstance. We were like, it's too hot, therefore I can't do that. And we made the wrong decision. The right decision would have been to either go indoors or to go somewhere else. And we made the wrong decision, and that's okay. I mean, everyone makes mistakes. It's all good. Now, we were learning from the mistakes, so.
But you were training off perceived exertion, right? With
Correct.
The heat.
Now, it's not to say we didn't work hard. It's not to say we didn't give the effort of, I would almost argue it was actually more taxing on the body, what we were doing, because of how hot it was, the cardiac stress, and then the stress on all the loss, just chronic state of depletion due to losing all of the electrolytes and the water. So yes, we were working extremely hard, but that's not just doing mindless hard work is not the answer. You have to first ask yourself, what does it take to win? What is the speed it takes to win? And doing, we were doing it would be a hard session to do a 16-minute 5K. And we did do if you recall, we made a video where we did run a just under 16-minute 5K one time. And it's just not adequate anymore. That's just not adequate speed. So this is the beginning of the cycle repeating itself. We're gonna do 5 by a mile. Wherever we are, I think we'll probably be around 5 flat pace. The reality is 5 flat pace is what the top guys are running off the bike now. So that's not, if your threshold's 5 flat, you're not gonna run that off the bike. In order to run it off the bike, I'd say your threshold needs to be closer to 440 per mile or even 435 per mile. If you think that you're going to run 5 flat off the bike for 11 miles in a PTO race, you know what I mean? And so, once again, what's threshold? It's about, I think it's, for me anyhow, it's around 4 millimole outdoors, in a normal setting. So, what are we working towards? Once again, here we are. I'll tell you what I think you need to do. You need to get this session up to, I would say, at least 6 times a mile. And I think you probably need to be 440 or under if you can go toe to toe if you want to go toe to toe with the best guys in the world. And who is that? That's currently runners West, Blumenfeld, Eden. There's another few of them who are excellent runners who can have the capacity. If you're going toe to toe with them, they're going to go 5 flat miles or maybe even slightly under. So we'll get a reading here. Know if I need to adjust a little.
What is your target on these?
3.8 to 4.2.
4.3.
So I'm right at the top. That's where I expect to be. And so you're going to need to do 6 by a mile, 4:35, and a lactate of 3.8 to 4.2 in order to be able to do that off the bike. So today is the beginning of the cycle repeating itself. The difference is where we get to in March, at the end of March, early April, when it starts to heat up, we're going to either go indoors or we're going to go somewhere else so that we continue the progression into when it counts in the summer and in the fall where the championship races are. YouTube.
4.7.
If it's 4.3 and you hold the same pace,
Should creep up a
it
little.
should slowly creep up. So that's what I mean about how Olav Alexander Boo put it. He said, you know, you can become carbohydrate thirsty. So if we start doing tons of this, yeah, we're gonna get faster, but we're also gonna move the system in a different metabolic direction than potentially you want for ultra endurance.
Is that basically like you're getting worse miles per gallon, basically?
Basically, yeah, you're starting to run like more of like a high performance car. Yes. So, but first you need the speed. If you don't have the speed to win, then what are you training for? You know what I mean? We're not training to get third at Augusta. I promise you that. We're done doing that. So we're training to win now. We can deal with the ramifications. Once the speed is adequate, then we can deal with the ramifications of cultivating the speed. But first we need the speed. It doesn't go the opposite. If someone tells you it goes the opposite direction, like you cultivate the system and the speed will come out of it, that's illogical. You need the speed. Then you can worry about if you're too carbohydrate thirsty, and we can balance that with upper aerobic work, threshold, aerobic threshold, LT1 work. But first you need the speed. 520 miles, what we were doing in the summer here. I mean, come on now. You're training to get 11th at the Milwaukee PTO Open when you're doing that. That's what you're doing. So we're done with that. I'm not racing for those positions. I'm a coach guys who believe they can win. That's what I'll do. If I can't, then I'll coach the people who do. So this is the beginning of the cycle starting over again. Fortunately, I think the body, when it wants something, it soaks it up. And it's incredible. You know, that's 5 by a mile to start. That's generous rest, but 5 by a mile to start, all 4:48 or better. We need to get to 4:35 on a minute's rest. The lactate also needs to come down, 3.8 to 4.2. We were 4.3 and 4.7. But I mean, it's literally like threshold workout 2 of the season. So we got lots of time. First race, earliest we're racing, I'm racing, is March, earliest.
So if you are outsider looking in and it's super hot outside and in the middle of the summer, is it better to go do a quality on a treadmill or on the trainer, or is it better to do it somewhere
I would
where
say
it's
in
cooler?
almost every instance, the problem, even if you're training for a really hot race, of course you need to do some heat adaptation. But you'll notice people who focus on Kona or focus on these hot races, usually they're destroyed by the time the race comes. Gustav and Christian, they didn't focus on Kona. They didn't start training for Kona until like 6 weeks out, maybe 5 weeks out. You usually do more harm than good when you go because it's so taxing. You're in a chronic state of deprivation, and the intensity it's way too hard, and you're too slow. 95% of the time, you should be training in optimal conditions with the least taxation and the most speed that you can get so that your muscles are adapted to high speed. Then, the icing on the cake, if you're training for a hot race or a very specific race, is the specificity component. Yeah, of course, you need to have a little bit of heat adaptation, of course. The science says first week of heat adaptation, you get most of the gains. Week 2, you have like 90%, 95% of the gains. Week 3, 100%. Any more than 3 weeks of specificity, total overkill, completely no gain, all loss. So the answer is you should basically, my best performances, I trained in the basement. It was 68 degrees every single day, all day. And I came out of the basement 3 weeks before the race. And I was really fast. Those are my best races, my best performances.